Axios Local is bringing smart brevity to a city near you. Local will deliver scoops, offer sharp insights, and curate the best local reporting. Our events, called Smart Take, will help readers better understand the most consequential news unfolding in their own backyards. With Local, we focus on what matters in your community.
Welcome to Smart Take, the future of Northwest Arkansas's virtual event. I'm Alex Golden, reporter for Northwest Arkansas at Axios. I'm coming to you from Bella Vista, Arkansas. Thank you to the Northwest Arkansas Council for making this conversation possible. Welcome to our audiences on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and on Axios.com. Join the conversation today on Twitter with @Axios and #Axios Events. Over the next 30 minutes, I will be joined by my colleague, Worth Sparkman. We will unpack the future of the region, looking at housing development, local post-pandemic recovery, and the impact on the community. Our first guest is the congressman from Arkansas's 3rd Congressional District, Representative Steve Womack. Thank you for being here.
Honored to be with you, Alex. Thank you for having me.
So before you were a congressman, you were mayor of Rogers from 1999 to 2010. And for our viewers, can you tell us a little bit about how you've seen Northwest Arkansas grow or change just since your time as mayor?
Yeah, great question. So I knew, you didn't have to be really sharp in logic to figure out back in the 90s where Northwest Arkansas was trying to go. And I knew it was, it had gone through a little bit of a growth sequence. It was going to go through another one. And I was kind of tracking the demographic changes that were going on in the region throughout the 90s. And I was on the city council in Rogers, Arkansas in 97 and 98, and then decided to run for the office of mayor in 1998 and was successful. So that gave me kind of a front row seat to what was taking place, and this dramatic growth spiral was continuing. But because I was the mayor of Rogers, I was concentrating basically on the opportunities that Rogers had. If you think about Northwest Arkansas up until that point, Fayetteville had the University of Arkansas, Springdale had Tyson, Bentonville had Walmart. Rogers didn't really identify with anything. It was not a company town. It didn't have any significant impact from one particular organization. And I knew that the population shift was happening in Benton County. If you looked at the growth percentages in the 90s, in the early 2000s, Washington County was always the more populous county, but Benton County was growing faster. And so if you kind of put those glide paths on a piece of graph paper like I did, you would have seen that in 2003, based on growth projections, historical growth projections, that Benton County was going to pass Washington County in 2003. And it did. And now it's really not even close. Tens of thousands of people. Benton County is more populated by tens of thousands. So I used that opportunity and that knowledge to be able to plan for the growth in the retail sector in the greater Rogers, Central Benton County area. I knew that there would be another development of retail infrastructure in the region, separate from Fayetteville. And I just felt like Springdale was too close to Fayetteville for it to happen there. So it was going to be between Bentonville and Rogers. So I advocated for a lot of infrastructure development, what have you, because we knew we had the rooftops, and rooftops chase retail. So we were able to plan for and develop the retail infrastructure of Rogers, the Central Benton County region, and made it very successful, which increased the revenue stream in the city dramatically and gave us an opportunity to do a lot of other things that contribute to the quality of life of the region. So that was kind of what drove a lot of my decisions as the mayor of Rogers in the 1999 to 2010 timeframe. So you had developments like the Hotel Convention Center, Embassy Suites, biggest convention space between basically Kansas City and Dallas, developed a multi-million, a couple of million square feet of retail infrastructure across the interstate over here, brand new hospital. So all of those kinds of things were going on because there were a lot of people moving into the region, and we had that critical mass, and now the place has just exploded, and here we are.
Gotcha. So now the area overall, how would you say that the infrastructure has been able to accommodate our growth, and in what ways would you say maybe it still needs to be improved, or it's not going to quite keep up with the growth projected?
Well, any leader, any governmental leader or economic developer understands that you've got to be able to move people. You just have to move people. They got to be able to get from where they are to where they're going and do it with the least amount of congestion as possible. You don't want them sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic, hard to get in, hard to get out. And that's kind of what drove a lot of our decisions here. We wanted multiple access points into the retail infrastructure that we were having. And for a long time in the 80s and 90s, Northwest Arkansas was playing serious catch up in its infrastructure. We just weren't able to provide the infrastructure to match the growing population. And we're still struggling with that today. But in the period of the early 2000s, we were able to catch up a little bit and fix some of those issues. You know, the bypass now, I-49, the work that we're doing on 412, Bella Vista bypass, just all kinds of development of infrastructure. And the state, you know, had a tax initiative to be able to help plan for some of that. So we've kind of put our money where our mouth is, and we're beginning to fix some of those problems. Look, I think we're going to have another growth spurt. I think we're going to continue to grow our population in such a way that I-49 may not be acceptable, just as our major north-south artery. We may have to go out on the west side of Benton County and Washington County and come up with some kind of a western beltway over there. We're going to need to fix the 412 piece. We got to get the resources to get 412 out of Oklahoma all the way across and out of Springdale and on the northern side of Springdale and further to the east. So we've still got a lot of work to do. Let's not forget that part of this infrastructure challenge for our area happens to be water and wastewater, primarily wastewater. We got a great water supply in Beaver Lake, which will serve us for many years to come. But how do we treat wastewater, and where does this wastewater go, and how do we do it in compliance with federal regulations? So that's going to be a challenge. It's going to drive a lot of decisions as well. So we still have infrastructure challenges, but moving people is going to continue to be critical in how we continue to have the quality of life that separates us from a lot of other areas.
Gotcha. So how will the proposed infrastructure bill as it stands now likely affect Northwest Arkansas if it's passed?
Well, first of all, the infrastructure bill that we have now is not going anywhere because it doesn't deal with infrastructure. About 6% of the Biden proposal even deals with what we call traditional infrastructure. So the left is going to have to come to the table. The administration is going to have to come to the table and agree that if we're going to get an infrastructure bill out, we're going to need to make sure that it primarily deals with what we believe is traditional infrastructure. And that's roads and bridges, moving people, water, wastewater, now broadband. We know we have some areas in our state exposed by the COVID phenomenon that requires us to put some more investment into particularly some of our rural areas regarding the availability of the access to the internet. These are all things that I think are going to be critical if we're going to have an infrastructure plan that's going to be able to pass both chambers of Congress.
Do you expect the bill to affect Northwest Arkansas National Airport, Fort Smith Regional Airport, or any of our other smaller executive airports?
By necessity, we will see our airport infrastructure improving because there's a lot of demand for it, and obviously XNA is the primary airport facility serving the greater Northwest Arkansas area. Fort Smith Airfield obviously is getting a lot of attention now that we have an F-35 announcement down there. So continuing to add to the investment that we have in our airport infrastructure is going to be critically important going forward as well.
Well, Representative Womack, thank you so much for joining Axios today.
Hey, great to be with you. Love to do this anytime.
Appreciate it. And next we have a View from the Top segment with my colleague, co-founder and CEO of Axios, Jim Vandehei.
Thank you very much, Alex. It's now my pleasure to bring you a conversation with Stuart Walton, who is a co-founder of Runway Group. Stuart, how are you doing?
I'm good. Good afternoon. How are you, Jim?
Excellent. How's life in Bentonville and in Northwest Arkansas?
Life's good. It's getting back to normal here. Our restaurants are filling up. You see people coming back into the office, and the sun's shining today, so it's great.
For those that aren't from the region or haven't been to the region, talk a little bit about why you and your family have invested so much in Bentonville and in Northwest Arkansas and the effect that that's had.
Well, there's a couple reasons that I think you could sort of break it down to. One is it's home. It's where I grew up. It's where I went to high school. And I think I've always felt a connection to the place here and to the people here. Two, it's opportunity. And we see investing in Bentonville as a significant opportunity, both to help the state, but also to help the region continue to grow and develop in a similar trajectory that it has been for many years now. We're home to 3 Fortune 500 companies. We're home to Crystal Bridges, the Museum of American Art. We're the mountain biking capital of the world. And we have a robust dining bar scene that's getting better every year, actually. The pandemic was a little rough on it, but the scene in Bentonville is great. The amenities are great. And we're long on Northwest Arkansas as a place to invest. And we're really excited about the potential here.
And that region is one of the faster growing regions in the country. People might not know it because it's sort of a collection of small to mid-size towns. What's bringing people there, and what effect has that had on the region?
You might think it's quality of life offerings like mountain biking, like the arts and culture scene, but I think it's sort of a totality of the circumstances where it's actually the quality of life plus the cost of living that we have here. Bentonville is one of the top 10 fastest growing metropolitans in the country in a survey I saw last month. And, the town is going to continue to grow fast. We're making investments with that in mind, and we continue to attract a lot of folks here. But I think it's really that kind of secret sauce of, a dynamic place, lots of opportunity. Currently, we have 10,000 empty jobs in Northwest Arkansas that we're trying to fill. So if you want a job, come on down because we got some opportunity. And then you've got the quality of life piece that goes alongside that. I think when people start to kind of realize what we offer, they get really excited about the opportunity of, building a life here and developing family and growing and, becoming a local.
That's a big number, 10,000. What areas are those jobs? Are they technology jobs? Are they Walmart jobs? Are they a variety of jobs? How should we think about that?
A little bit across the board. Certainly, Walmart has some opportunities that are open. We have technology jobs. We've had a couple startups come here. There's a company called LoanPal that's just been announced where they've opened an Arkansas office. They've got, I think, 35 people out there now on their way to 100 in the next couple of months. And they're sort of a solar financing tech company. So just real variety of jobs and job offerings that we have here. And that's one of our goals actually, is to try to develop the economic fabric in Northwest Arkansas so that we have more diversity. We have great jobs, but they tend to be concentrated in sort of retail, transportation, logistics, food tech, protein, those sorts of things. But we're trying to kind of grow the areas of expertise beyond that.
And given the growth, are there any challenges associated with that? I mean, I sort of get the economic benefits and get the benefits to the area. Any challenges, any strains on the system?
Yeah, just like what you'd expect anywhere. Our top two would be cost of housing in Bentonville. Prices keep going up, supply keeps going down. There's a lot. We're struggling to keep up on that. The other one that is, kind of a pinch point is traffic. We're building roads. We're also building a lot of bike trails, and we really are big believers in cycling here in Northwest Arkansas, both as a way to get around, but also a way to, recreate and all stay in shape, but also, get out with a family and have some good family time together. So we're trying to solve some of these problems with innovative ways. We've got some affordable housing initiatives going, and, it's exciting to have these problems because on a net basis, the benefits of positive economic growth tend to always outweigh the drag. And if you address the drag early, which we have the opportunity to do here, I think we can mitigate it and keep our growth going.
I have a hunch my traffic is worse than your traffic. When you think about stepping back and looking through the lens of the next 5 to 10 years, if things continue with the investment, if you continue to see the population growth, what does Bentonville and what does the region look like? How will it look differently than it does today?
So one of the things that my brother Tom and I, who kind of work together on a lot of this stuff, we always say is, we're going to change more in the next 5 years than we did in the last 5 years. And if we don't do that, we're failing. And so I could not have told you where we'd be here in 2020 and 2015, and I'd hesitate to speculate where we're going to be in 2025. But I'll tell you this. Walmart will have a new home office open by then. It's going to be a fantastic campus right in the downtown part of Bentonville. We're going to keep making aggressive mountain bike trail investments and green space investments. We're developing a couple more parks for the town. So I think we're going to keep doubling down on the things that have worked. We're going to try some new stuff that people might not expect to find in Arkansas, but hopefully that'll continue to kind of give us opportunities to find additional ways to invest. And then, hopefully we can continue to recruit folks here, keep the momentum going, and, make life a little bit better each and every day. And in 5 years, who knows where you'll end up if you can make that happen.
Stuart, I appreciate the conversation. Hopefully one day very soon I get to meet you in person. We can go mountain biking. But thank you for the conversation.
I look forward to it, Jim. It's good to visit.
And over to you, Worth.
Hello, I'm Worth Sparkman, a Northwest Arkansas reporter for Axios. Our final guest is the director at the Center for Business and Economic Research at the University of Arkansas, Mervin Jebaraj, joining us from right here in Fayetteville. Hi, Mervin.
How are you?
Good. Glad you could join us today. Yeah. We're in a historic moment here where a lot of the workforce will now be working from home. And this impacts both residential and commercial real estate. So I wanted to ask you just a little bit about both of those. First, the commercial market. According to the most recent Skyline report, it's pretty strong. So what do you think both owners and developers should expect over the next year or so?
I think, people are waiting to see exactly what happens when we're all willing to come back to workplaces in larger numbers than we have so far. So at the beginning of the pandemic in Benton County, there was a 50% decline in the number of people going to workplaces. In Washington County, that was about 45% decline. Today, that's somewhere around 25% in Washington County decline in people going to the workplaces, and about a 30% decline in Benton County. So it's getting towards where most people may feel comfortable returning to workplaces. And if this is our new normal, then there's certainly a slightly less demand for office space, but I think it doesn't change the overall composition of office space demand in Northwest Arkansas because people will still want more distance between them. There'll be more collaborative space for people that are working remotely to be able to come in. So overall, when we talk to commercial real estate people, they still feel very confident about the demand levels for office space in particular. Especially Class A office space, the stuff that has really nice finishes and, very modern office space that was in high demand before the pandemic started, that will remain in high demand. It'll just look a little different, be less open space, and have more offices and cubicles and collaborative spaces.
Okay, that's good input. So that's for the developers and the owners of those. What about business owners looking to lease commercial space? What do you think they should expect?
Well, we haven't seen a whole lot of softness in the lease rates for commercial space so far. With vacancy rates staying fairly level, you're not going to expect to see that happen. Especially the newly built stuff tends to be very expensive. We're seen materials prices go up across the board. That has been, before the pandemic was already an issue with labor supply being short. So, we're expecting to continue to see higher lease rates, especially for the nicely finished out spaces. The affordable market in the business office space would be Class B space. They're still in very nice locations, close to all the amenities that workers might want. It's just that the office space itself might not be nicely finished out. So if you're looking for slightly more affordable office space in an area with great amenities, you want to look at Class B.
Okay, great. Thank you. So moving on to residential. There's a shortage of desirable single-family residential in Northwest Arkansas, and that's driving prices up. What's the draw? What is causing that demand here in our region?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. One, there are people that have been living in rentals and other such living situations that might be working from home now, that might have gotten quite a bit of money from the federal government that could constitute part of a down payment, so that increased the demand for homes, which coincided with the 10-year Treasury sliding sharply last year, which then pushed the 30-year mortgage rate down. So the 30-year mortgage rate is still at historic lows. And that in particular, combined with the fact that people want a little more space, has really driven demand for single-family residential in Northwest Arkansas. That has really pushed prices up in Northwest Arkansas in the last year. We were complaining about price increases before the pandemic. That was when prices were going up 6-7% on a year-over-year basis. Last year, the prices climbed 10, 11, 12%. So even faster than what we were complaining about. So, the short term, there's not much we can do, but this is something that the region really needs to address over the long term. There are people who want single-family homes. Mortgage rates will probably be fairly low, especially compared to historical standards, for a while. So it's not going to put a lot of people out of the market. So I think cities across the region really need to address what they're going to do with this region in terms of how much more housing development needs to happen to keep prices stable or actually push prices lower.
That's interesting. Thank you for that. So one thing that I wanted to touch on, if we had some time, and we've got a little bit, was just along the supply side question related to real estate. In your opinion, what makes this area attractive to potential entrepreneurs or business owners that might look for a place like this to call home, call their base?
When we think about this region compared to, say, regions along the coast, for example, obviously, even though our home prices have been increasing in the last few years, they're still much lower than, say, the coastal regions. So, the overall cost of living in Northwest Arkansas is still really low compared to those places. So that's one obvious attraction for a lot of people. Combine that with the fact that we have amenities that most metro areas our size don't really have. So, you combine the low cost of living with the types of amenities that we have, that attracts a lot of people. Now, you talk about the natural state, so there's a lot of natural amenities around us if you're into hiking or mountain biking or kayaking or those types of activities. And, the take-up rate of outdoor activities among at least younger people has been really high. So this region affords a lot of opportunities for that. So those are all the sort of, quality of life aspects. Obviously, from the business aspects, the really low unemployment rate, there are always jobs available. A lot of well-paying jobs are available for people to come in and take those, and also for people around here. And if you're interested in starting a business, say in the consumer package field or logistics, there can be no better place in the country to really start that type of business, given the types of large corporations that we have here that are in that space that could very well be your customer or your partner in that business. So all in all, there's still a lot of attraction to Northwest Arkansas. Obviously, we want to maintain that level of attraction. Commute times are well under 30 minutes on average. So Again, that's not something you get in many other places, even away from the coast, say in Dallas or Austin. So we want to maintain all of these things. We want to maintain the low cost of living and the low commute times. And so all that is to say that the region, hasn't reached the point of no return like some of the coastal regions that have gotten too big and haven't developed enough housing or transit or those things. And it's, very hard to do it after the fact. Northwest Arkansas is still has not reached that inflection point. So we have an opportunity to develop more housing, to keep housing prices affordable, and develop it in a way that makes transit a reality in Northwest Arkansas.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mervin, for joining Axios. We appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
And thank all of you for joining us this afternoon for another virtual conversation that has made everyone smarter, faster. Thank you to our sponsor, Northwest Arkansas Council, for making this event possible. For more info or to sign up for the Axios Northwest Arkansas newsletter, visit axios.com/newsletters or the Axios app. Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you on axios.com.